Happy holidays. Today is Friday the 27th of December. I'm still wearing my festive Christmas hat, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do conditional rules with a simple snippet of JavaScript. So as usual, I'm using my Classics Clips app, and if I was to add a record here, I have some validation rules on this form. One of the validation rules I have is that if the character count of notes goes over 200 characters, it stops you from submitting the form. So if I try and submit this form now, I'll get a validation message saying that I've exceeded the maximum of 200 characters. If you're an experienced user of Knack, you'll likely be aware this is a fairly simple validation rule. And on my clients table, I have my notes field here, and you can see I have a validation rule. If I click on here, it will take me straight to the validation rules. And I've targeted the notes field and said where the character count is higher than 200, display this error message. So if I go back to my form, if I remove some characters here, I can trim this back, and hopefully now I'm under 200 and I can submit that record. The challenge that my client gave me was that we wanted some way to visually show the user whether or not they were above or below the threshold of 200 characters. And currently it's not until you actually press submit that you get the validation message. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I'm not a coder. But with the help of ChatGPT, I created this, well, larger than what I would call a snippet, but some code that actually does the validation dynamically. I've asked ChatGPT to put various comments on here, so hopefully for those that are familiar with view numbers and field numbers, you can adapt this as required. I'll put the link to the code in the video description, so I'm just going to save that. Back to my live app and do a browser refresh, and now I'm going to add a client. And now when I put my notes in, so if I type this, you can see we have a character count. I'm going to just backspace here and paste some characters in, and you can see I've got 150, and I've put here as a note that my maximum is 200. So this is done dynamically, so as I type here you can see that the character count is increasing, and when I backspace or delete them out it goes down. So if I was to paste the same amount of text in again, it jumps to 300, the background goes red and the text goes red, and it also disables my submit button. So I'm just going to remove some of those characters. I'm down to 197. So if I just do 1, 2, 3, I'm up to 200. So my very next character, the submit button will disable. So this gives a really visual way of showing the user what the validation rule is, and ensures the data validation is met, that we don't add more than 200 characters. Now I appreciate this is a very niche application, but I thought it was worth sharing. The code that I provided does have two sections. One, because this view adds a client, and there is also the notes field on the view for editing the client. So it works here as well. So it has exactly the same validation rule and works in the same method. So if I paste that in, you can see it goes red and disables the submit button. Now I won't profess to understand or even really explain what the code's doing, but I do know from just looking at it here that this is looking at view 204, and I think if I scroll scroll up, the first section of code deals with view 8. So these are my two different views. The reason for really spending the time and sharing this with you was just to show the power of not only Knack and how flexible it is, because you can use your own code, but also even as a non-coder using artificial intelligence like ChatGPT or Copilot, you can ask natural language questions and obtain the code, and it actually works really well. I really appreciate those people that have subscribed over the past few days. I'm now at 486 subscribers, so nearly at that magic 500 threshold. I've mentioned this before, the whole channel is just for fun. It's just to share information with the community and spread some knowledge around. If you do get some value from these, please do give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll catch you on the next one.